Hi everyone, my name's Jack. Welcome back to this week's episode of WAAC Weekly. This is episode 16, and this week we've got some big performances. A couple of RTT wins, a third place at a super major, some more 5-1s, more 4-1s. Jump into the video. Okay, and we're back. So welcome back to the video, episode 16. A lot of games once again last week. We're at 279 games this week from 80 players. With that includes 24 GTs and 57 RTTs. And that includes 2 event wins, both at RTTs. However, there were World Eaters in the top cut at the Southampton GT in the UK. He ended up finishing third. But we'll get into that in a bit. In terms of rankings, they are showing now, so I'm going to just keep everyone updated on where everyone is. Liam Worswick is likely to be in first place once the Twisted Dice RTT points go through. They're not at time of recording, but he is second and he has an event slot free and he is close to first. So that would be my assumption. No Team Red Path news this week, unfortunately. Got a busy couple of weeks coming up. I believe Jamie has an RTT this weekend coming. Dara has a GT the week after that, and then I've got an RTT the week after that. So plenty more news coming up, but nothing this week. In terms of World Eaters tournament performances, there were 11 really strong performances. So we had 2 5-1s, a 4-2, a 5-0, as I said, that ended up being a 5-1, but it was a top cut thing. 4 4-1s, and then 3 3-0s, which, yeah, really strong. Some really strong performances. And the RTT performances included 2 event wins. So, up first, we have Guillermo Rossi at the Picana don't know. Spanish. It's a Spanish event. So, it was a 24-player RTT in Valencia, Spain. Used WTC scoring. Guillermo got 3 20-0 wins, so pretty good, pretty dominant, I would say. Invocatus with his Warlord trait, 3 squads of Berserkers, 2 5-mans and a 10, 3 squads of 5 8-bound, squad of 3 Exalted 8-bound, 3 Spawn, a Rhino, Demon's Patrol, which has Karanak, Bloodletters, 1 squad of Fleshhounds, and then 2 Skull Cannons. That's quite a lot fit into that. 26 power level. It's the double 8-bound here. Okay. So Skull Cannons is fire support, 90 points. Their shooting ain't great, but it also ain't bad. And for 90 points, it's pretty good. It's pretty efficient shooting. Flashhounds are great with the points drops. Bloodletters, Karanak, standard. 1 Rhino. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rhino takes the 2 5-mans and the 10-man are strat reserved. I know Dara's been using that as well. And enjoying it a lot. So having the 10-man strat coming on from strat reserve once you've got all the buffs off, 9 inches away, 3d6 inch charge, potentially with the +1 as well, is a fairly solid bet, and you can kill something hard late game, which is great. And they're not that expensive in the scheme of things. 3 squads, 5 8-bound. Again, probably first wave you chuck that up with Invocatus or stage really early. So yeah, it's a tight list. It is good fun, and clearly has done very well. So first place at a 24-player RTT in Valencia, Spain. Up next we have Liam Worswick. So Liam did 2 RTTs this weekend, and I believe he finished top 5 in the other one. 1 second. At the other one he went 2-1 and finished 5th. But on his Sunday one, he went to Twisted Dice RTT near Northampton in the UK, and won a 34-player RTT. And the field was very strong. A lot of names I recognise there. And so again, Invocatus with his Warlord trait, a load of Berserkers, 25, all the Icons and Eviscerators, 2 big squads of 8-bound with the Lacerators. So that will be the pre-game move, and the pre-game move with Invocatus. 1 squad of Exalted, 3 individual spawn, a drill, which I'm sure long-time viewers of the channel will appreciate. It's proving that Drill Gang is back now that we have the right keywords. 2 Brigands, still running Brigands. It's good to see them working. Mirror of Fates, lovely. Always good to see. The CP regen is really nice and means you don't really have to worry about CP, I don't think. It's cool that he's still running Brigands. I think Brigands and Executioners are very much 6.5 dozen. So you can take either, really, and they will be fine. Like in certain matchups, one will be better. In certain matchups, the other will be better. You can take both and still do well. So those are the 2 event wins. Up next, I did just want to look at Ed Watts' list from the UKTC Southampton GT. As I mentioned at the start, he finished 3rd in a 193-player Super Major. He made the top cut of the top 4 after the first 5 rounds before losing to Manny Chima with his Dark Angels list in the semi-finals. I think it's fair to say that this is probably the best performance from a World Eater at a big event. I know there's been a couple of like second place finishes at like 60, 70 player events, but 193 players is kind of another level, I would say. So 3rd place there and making the top cut specifically, really strong performance. So I just wanted to spend a bit of time on his list. So Invocatus up first with his Warlord trait. Juggerlord with the Berserker Glaive, also great. Jackals, he spent 5 points for the Icon, not the Skull Smasher. That's a lot of Berserkers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 30 Berserkers, all with Icons and Eviscerators. 2 4-man squads of 8-bound, a 3-man squad of 8-bound, 2 squads of Exalted 8-bound, 2 Spawn, 2 Rhinos. So that's a lot of Berserkers not in transports. However, I'd imagine you can play them as like MSU, Strat Reserve, Bunga Bunga, like come in wherever and you have to deal with them kind of deal. Which is potentially, or like just as backline, right? So you've got 2 squads of 5 out in the open. And I guess it gives you some flexibility on the pre-game move as well. You can move them up if they have screening forward deploys that are not worth spending 4 8-bound on. Yeah, some early trade units maybe. Really, yeah. I mean, so that it leans a bit more into Berserkers than 8-bounds. And traditionally we've seen people swaying towards 8-bound a bit more, based off presumably internet hype. But it is really interesting to see people swinging back towards Berserkers, or seeing Ed at least doing well with Berserkers. And I wonder if that means that people will start to swing back a little bit more towards Berserkers. Because they are very good. They are relatively cheap for what they do, and their potential late game in particular with the buffs. And yeah, I also think Exalted 8-bound. Yeah, Exalted in the debate between 8-bound and Exalted 8-bound. Exalted 8-bound are just better, I think. 8-bound are good with core, but to really get the most out of them, you're going to need to spend a lot of CP on them. And this list, I feel like you want to spend all your CP on Berserkers, and it gives you like a lot of tools, especially late game when you might be short on CP. Interesting that he's gone for the heavy chain glaives on all 3 of the champions, potentially for mortal wound output for the Gory Dismemberment strat. But yeah, really interesting to look at. So running through his matchups, because I'm sure people are interested in his path to 3rd place. His round 1 matchup was secure missing artifacts, so the priority orders receive priority targets. That one you each pick an objective, and your opponent has to hold it in their half of the board. The auto 15 secondary. So he went up against Votan Ymir Conglomerate, that one, and finished 99-44 win. Really strong. Up next, he was Data Scry Salvage against Hail of Doom Eldar. Won 82-64. Round 3 was Conversion, so one of the cutout missions, up against Ulthway, so more Eldar, with an 83-73 win. Round 4 was Tide of Conviction against Space Wolves. Space Wolves player that I know and have never beaten. with 170 win against Space Wolves. And then round 5 was a slightly unorthodox or slightly tweaked, I guess, Thousand Suns and Zinch list. So there was a Zinch patrol, but it wasn't all flamers. There was 2 squads of flamers and some other stuff. Blue Horrors, Fate Skimmer. There was also 3 quad heavy bolter rapier batteries in that list, which was Jimmy will love. And that was on Tear Down Their Icons, which is the bomb planting corner deployment thing. Yeah, so incredibly strong performance. As I said, he lost to Manichima's Dark Angels in the semi-finals. I believe the score was 67-85, so it was a very tight defeat. Manichima's list was 30 Terminators, a load of attack bikes, and maybe some speeders. So like a sort of hybrid Dark Angels list, which is doing the rounds at the moment. But yeah, it shows that even at the very top, World Eaters can compete, especially given the right pilot, which Ed clearly is. So Ed is also in part of Glass Hammer, so Manny is potentially a teammate or a practice buddy. So that tells you about the caliber of player, potentially. Yeah, so I just wanted to take us through those three lists because I feel like they are sort of the top lists at the moment and represent sort of the cutting edge of comp World Eaters. So yeah, up next, I just wanted to look at units again. I have continued doing my unit matrix. Yeah, so yeah, so we have so again this is the first week where we haven't seen an Angron list in these lists that I've considered. So I've looked at 11 this week, which has been the 2 5-on-1s, a 4-on-2, 4 4-on-1s, 5-and-0. How many is that? 7, 8, and then 3 3-and-0s. So this is all the lists that have done 4-on-1 or better, basically, at a tournament. So yeah, I mean, this is the first week we haven't seen Angron in. I don't think any of the lists had Angron in this week. No, none of the lists had Angron in this week. So that's interesting. We've got a video coming out soon, where we talk about the general state of the World Eaters and talking about specifically Angron versus Invocatus. So I won't spoil that, but it's interesting based off of that discussion that all 11 lists used Invocatus and his Warlord trait, and none of them used Angron. But yeah, and as I say, like last week there was a swing towards more 8-bound. This week there seems to be a swing back towards more Berserkers. So 15 minimum in all 11 of these lists. That said, there were 10 8-bound at least in most of the lists. And then 3 Exalted 8-bound and at least 1 Spawn. People have been starting to drop Spawn. Our lists are very tight on points, so it is not the worst decision if you really need to trim points to fit something in. I personally have found Spawn really useful so far, just as objective holders, if nothing else, but that's potentially a reflection of the matches I've played. I haven't really played anything with any kind of indirect fire yet. I've dodged Votan. I've not played New Guard yet, so there are some gaps in my I guess theorizing or my perspective. Also interesting to see that there's increasing swing away from rhinos. Again, I've really enjoyed rhinos mostly for the movement boost that they provide, the springboards they provide. But it's good to see people are getting mileage out of not running them as well. So people using just Berserk, just a horde, basically. I say horde, we don't have that many models, but just using bodies, like foot sloggers rather than anything else. Also interesting to see is that Night Allies were fairly popular this week. Almost half the list used Night Allies. A mixture of Executioners. There were 2 lists with Stalkers in this week as well, which I believe is the Chain Cannon and Melee Weapon. So interesting to see that. I would imagine that they're in to clear chaff, clear screens, so to make your valuable, expensive melee units, comparatively expensive melee units, hit home into targets that they actually want to be killing, or to hit home into targets they actually want to be killing rather than having to trade against like chaff, basically. So that's potentially a role, and then it depends on the offering, not the offering, the favor as well. There are some that are shorter range and act as debuffs. I know Jamie's been talking about one of the Nurgle ones, the Aura of Corruption. I can't remember what it does, but it's a shorter range one. And then yeah, so Executioner's more popular than Brigands, I believe. Yeah, only one less use Brigands, which was Liam's. But yeah, Executioner's more popular than Brigands at the moment generally. Although I'd say Liam did very well with Brigands. There are a couple of lists of Stalkers in. Terminator is making a bit of an appearance. There was a mad lad who ran a 10 brick as well, did very well with them. Someone was running 2 quad heavy bolter rapier batteries. Basically, outside of these sort of like top 4 to 6 units or unit selections, that's potentially a core to look at when you're building a list. But anything else, the fringe stuff, basically not fringe, but you know, like the thing the rest of the points that you use to build up to 2000, you can take pretty much anything and do really well with it. Which further lends credence to all about player skill, I think, all about the pilot skill. Someone even ran a defiler and did very well with it. So let that be a lesson to you all. Defilers aren't bad. People just can't use them. Yeah. So I do have something else to show you. So I thought it'd be interesting. So this is just for this week. So the 11 lists that did really well, looking at what units were used and how many of each unit was used. Right. So yes, I have started trending it over time. Just to see if there are units that are consistently popular across multiple lists, just to expand the data a little bit. And so we have a nice, pretty conditionally formatted visual, I guess. So something, I mean, you can see at the top there the units that have been consistently popular through the now 4 weeks of data that we have. So yeah, ignore the dates at the top. Those are the dates that I basically put it in. So 10 Berserkers, a spawn, 6 8-bound, 2 spawn, 3 Exalted 8-bound, Invocatus, and then 15 Berserkers have all appeared really consistently. I'm working on enhancements for this and other things in this video, so I'm basically working on building visuals to trend win rates and stuff like that over time. But I just think it's interesting to look at. So there are clearly some units that are consistently across multiple weeks and have stayed strong in strong lists, which I don't think anything at the top there is a surprise to anyone. The important thing is that Angron has been steadily dropping off, which, yeah, I don't think Dara will appreciate, but has been steadily dropping off, and then obviously this week there were 11 lists that did well without him in it. So and Invocatus, on the other hand, has been going up, which I think potentially reflects a lot of people looking for alternatives, because like Dara, I think the playstyle is quite one-dimensional. Not one-dimensional. I don't want to get into that debate again, but it's not one-dimensional. It's just some people don't really like the Alpha Rush build, and so I think it's potentially a reflection of people looking for alternatives and then kind of surrendering if they want to do well. Really, I wouldn't. This is not me saying that the Invocatus Warlord trait Bum Rush list is the only way to do well. Just that it is quite powerful. And yeah, we discuss it a bit more in another video that's coming out soon, or might already have come out through the power of time travel. But essentially, the Invocatus Warlord trait is probably one of the strongest builds. The playstyle of Bum Rush is not the way to play that list the most strong way. That was bad words. Just because obviously you can't rely on going first every game, and you are going to need to adapt. And so someone who goes in with like, oh, I can do this if I go first, is not going to have a good time at a 5-round tournament where you might go first no times. So, so And finally, the great game. So rankings for 2023 are up now. They're still a bit small, obviously because we haven't got that much data. There haven't been that many tournaments, so people it's not built up. So I mentioned last week that World Eaters were almost back to their total player base for the 21 season, 22 season. And yeah, I mean, we're nearly there. We're even closer this week. So last place is Emperor's Children on 83. So they finished last season at 277 because they had that period of being quite strong. In third place is Thousand Sons, who are on 151 players at the moment. They finished last season on 1191. In second place, World Eaters at the moment, 178. We finished last season with 196 players, so we are most of the way there already, which is, as I said, to be expected. And in first place at the moment is Death Guard with 212 players. They finished last season at 1372, so plenty of room to grow. I would expect all three of Thousand Sons, World Eaters, Death Guard to end up over 1,000 players by the end of the season, but we shall have to see and keep track. Yeah, so join the Discord if you haven't already. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me any additions you'd like to see in terms of data, maybe visuals, if you have specific requests. And if not, come back next week. We've got plenty of exciting things happening, brewing over here at the Red Path. Not least of which is streaming on Twitch. If you haven't already seen Dara stream on Twitch, then he will be streaming probably tomorrow when this goes out on Twitch. So just go over and support him. I believe he's painting Dishonored this week, or maybe some more Jackals. I'm not sure. Go and find out and watch him on Twitch. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that's good stuff. Helps the algorithm, helps us to grow. Yeah, so just stay healthy, stay safe, and kill me better.